All right, so Tuesday night session, start of the week, well, almost start of the week. Thanks for jumping onto the call. I do not have that flash disclaimer, but I'll be sharing some trade ideas here. So if you're going to be jumping into any trade ideas, make sure you do your own analysis, do your own risk management, know why you're entering the trades before you jump into any of those trades, right? Do your analysis for that. So remember the risk disclaimer. With that said, we'll get into the session where I'll be guiding you through doing a bit of a quick review of what happened over the last couple of days in terms of the news. And then also, I actually had something today in terms of trading that I want to share with you that's kind of a good learning experience. And then we'll go through some trade ideas or trade setups and review of some trades as well. Okay, so first off, looking at the news, what has happened? Well, since the last time we spoke, which was on Friday to Wednesday, I mean, obviously we had the non-farm payrolls. I think, Kim Hong went through that in a lot of detail previously as well. But what we saw here on the non-farm payrolls was the non-farm employment change numbers was revised from 467 to 481. Expected at 400, came out at 678. We saw very strong US dollar there, but the average hourly earnings didn't have that big change. Month on month, no change instead of that 0.5%. Okay, but good thing is also unemployment rate going from a 4, expected at 3.9, dropped quite significantly to a 3.8. So the view here is that with the employment numbers looking very strong, we'll get more ideas of the CPI numbers later into the week. That should give the FOMC a lot more push, a lot more reason to continue on with their, what would normally be their 0.5% increase, but at this point, because of the conflict in the Russia-Ukraine area, we're probably looking at a 0.25, but this really cements that approach that they're going to have. And then on Monday, we saw a lot of news, but not big price movers, nothing to pay much attention to. Same with today, right? We saw a lot of Eurozone numbers. We do have the trade balance for the CAD and the US to be released at 9:30, but these are not going to move prices too much at this point. Tomorrow, we do have Governor Lowe speaking from the RBA, but this is in the Australian Financial Review Business Summit. I don't think that this will move prices too much, especially at 6:15 a.m. So, I wouldn't be too concerned about that. But do pay attention a little bit more to the Westpac consumer sentiment at 7:30. For the Aussie, it was a minus 1.3. We can see that it's been slightly towards the downside, so we might see some weakness upon that. Yen GDP numbers normally don't move prices too much, especially with not a big change expected there. US JOLTS job openings, again, not too concerned. Actually, what's going to be quite interesting is on Thursday when we're running the session again, this evening session again, it will very nicely coincide with the ECB rates holding at 0%. Again, like I said this morning, not expecting much surprises from the ECB there, but we'll pay attention a bit to the monetary policy statement, okay? Because the last time, or the rumor or the sentiment is that the ECB were looking to increase rates towards the end of the year. At this point, with the conflict, most likely we're going to see it pushed into next year. So we'll see, you pay attention to the policy statement and also the press conference on what it could push prices towards, push the rates towards, and when are they looking to increase rates, right? At 9:30, I'll be preparing you for that. The CPI number month on month was a 0.6%, expected to be a 0.8. Core CPI was a 0.6, expected to be a 0.5. I think that in this case, what you would see here is that we have actually seen it over the last periods, the last many periods have done better than forecasted. I wouldn't be too surprised if this comes out at a 0.9 or even a 1% on a month-on-month. CPI inflation in the US has been running quite hot, especially now with the oil prices so significant. That's going to push CPI numbers even higher again. So core CPI, you can see a little bit different because it's a bit slower because it excludes food and energy. So oil being energy, it excludes that. So it might see that drop. That's why I expect that drop a little bit. But I think we might still see a 0.6 at that point, right? So with all that, what this means is that, again, I'm still looking to see some dollar strength come back into play later into the week. The dollar, for a very interesting thing, is that it has been moving. I'll show you the dollar index here. Right, so the dollar index here, oops, apart from my signature there, okay, it hit that, it came very close to that 99.40, it came very close to that 99.50 level, and then it has been turning down. It has been turning down, it's been retracing off that level. It's now gone below 99 already. So I think that we're going to see that retracement slightly further, maybe even back to 98.50. Okay, I think this might be quite a big move, but I'm not sure they will come all the way down, but I think we will see a retracement. This is actually very interesting. If I show you the dollar index now on the H1 time frame, you can see that, and I zoom it out a little bit, you can see that over the last couple of hours, it shot down. The next moment, it tries to shoot up. Next moment, it's pinned down. Next moment, it's trying up. Now it's looking like a significant down, right? And what I was doing here, I was sitting through the day trying to scalp the markets. The learning point here is that if I showed you the, I was doing some trades on the pound dollar, right? And if you look at the pound dollar here on the H1 time frame, I was trying to scalp this, right? So again, you know, a lot of you are keen on scalping, are keen to try and do some scalping. What you'll notice here is that, how do I do this? Measure, I can't measure it. Okay, price range. So what you notice here is that it's only moved that whole really from top to bottom. Even if I did it from top to bottom, it's only moved that, oh wait, hang on. Okay. From this point to this point, it's only moved at 51 pips. It's only moved at 51 pips, and I was trying the whole day to try and, you know, scalp the pound dollar. For lack of a, you know, a mistake there, I would say for today is because I was looking at it on the M15 and it was shooting down, shooting back up, shooting down, shooting back up, forgetting to check in the bigger time frame. Only realizing that it actually hasn't moved that much in the scheme of things, only 51 pips, right? So bear in mind, if you're looking to get into a scalping mode, all right, it's not just the price movements, it's not just the big movements or the big movements, but you need to see overall how much has it been moving. And also, if I come back to this point again, you can see that there hasn't been a real direction, no real direction here on the pound dollar. It's actually been moving right across. It's been moving right across. If only if it broke on, you know, on a better textbook trade, it's only if it broke above this 131331, right? 13131 level, this resistance level. If it broke above this point, then I would look to see scalp upwards, right? So I'll put in the line there just to show you. So only if it broke above this point, okay, 13133, then you would say, okay, now it has formed a more upward move, right? It's bounced off the bottom, it's formed a more upward move. Then you'll be looking to scalp it towards that next resistance of 1.32. Okay, so only when it breaks up. At this point for today, it's already been moving across. No real good trade ideas, even in the short term, for that pound dollar. Another example here is also the euro dollar. So I was really focused on the pound and the euro dollar today. Euro dollar, I was just sharing with you all this morning. I was waiting for it to track higher, to sell down, right? But what I was trying to do as well is to try and find buying opportunities. So every time it came down a bit, I tried to buy it back up, but it shot up. The next moment it comes back down again. Next moment it shoots up. Next moment it comes back down again. So be very careful. Again, the euro dollar, you can see not very clear directions. Only recently this candle has moved towards the upside. Previously, it's only moved in that 50 pip, 50 pip range as well. So, no real direction as well at that point. Not big movements, especially on 50 pips. If you're trying to scalp, it's going to be very tedious, right? So in terms of the euro dollar, I'm looking for it to test that 1.0945 level, reject that level and sell it back down. If it does break above, because of the dollar index I was just sharing with you, then we could see it move a bit higher. Maybe you want to scalp it towards the upside, but I wouldn't be so keen to scalp the euro dollar up just because of what's happening in the Eurozone at this point, or the Russian-Ukraine borders at this point. I'll be more looking to sell it back down. Okay, just as a quick reminder, if you have any questions, put in the chat. I will check it as I remember. Okay, so the learning point here, my experience for today was I was sitting down, I was, not much happening on all the other pairs. I saw the pound dollar, I saw the euro dollar shooting up, shooting down. I was looking at it on M15 time frame. I thought, hey, maybe I can try and scalp this a bit more, but on hindsight, it didn't have that much of a clear direction. You can see that the euro dollar actually found its base. If I zoomed out, you can see that over the since yesterday to now, it hasn't found any lower point, hasn't really found any higher point. It's sitting in that consolidation at this 108.50 level. So no real directions for the euro dollar. Okay, so at this point, what to pay attention to, doing a quick review of what we spoke about yesterday. Aussie dollar. So yesterday, Aussie dollar, we were saying that I was looking for it to test that 7.4 level, bounce back up, look for the buying opportunity. It's not happening at this point. It's broke below and now it's sitting at that 7.3 level. Can it break higher? Possibly, but this would mean that we're waiting for that dollar weakness to continue. But you can see on the H1 time frame here, seems like it's starting to reject this 73 level already. So be a bit more careful there. I think if you're looking at the Aussie dollar here on the H1 time frame, there is both that opportunity to sell down or to buy it up, right? Depending on how this candle, this 8 o'clock candle, and also the 9 o'clock candle plays out. If you're looking at the Aussie dollar, you can be looking to sell down. I'll be a bit more cautious here. I would say below that 7.2, 7.3 level, a 30 pip stop loss just above that resistance. A take profit, normally I would tell you, you can put it all the way down there about 90, 100 pips. But with this crazy times, I would say even if you went for a 1:1 towards that 7.232 level, there's a good trade, a 1:1 risk reward ratio towards the downside. Why this level? Because of this point here, this point here, this point here, and also this point here, right? So give it some chance. You might even be able to enter a little bit earlier actually. So if it does come lower, so if you miss out this first one at 7279, you can look at 7279 73, 72, 70, that range. Not a big difference in terms of price, but in that area, you'll be looking to sell it down towards the downside for the Aussie dollar. If it does break upwards, right? This 8 o'clock sits there, 9 o'clock breaks higher, then naturally you can be looking for that buying opportunity. Same thing, tight stop loss, 20, 30 pip. I would say 80 pips is very ambitious. I would be looking for that 50 pip at that range of consolidation in this area here, this area here. I'll say take profit at that level there. So you here again have both that buying and that selling opportunity on the Aussie dollar. Okay. The Aussie dollar idea, I was preparing for this call. It just came up the way it's reacting to this point. I was actually more keen on the New Zealand dollar. All right. So New Zealand dollar, when we spoke about it on Monday, I was saying that, look for it to come down, test this 6843. I'm having problems reading the numbers, but 6843 level. And then if it does bounce back up, you can look for that buying opportunity. This, I would still hold this trade idea as valid. See whether it's going to bounce back up. Just then, before we jumped onto the call, before the call started, this was a nice green. I'll zoom in a bit more so it's easier to see. This was a nice green candle there. So I was actually quite interested already. I was like, oh, this is going to be a great trade that we might be able to jump onto during the call if it does close above that point. But right now, looks like it's testing this level, or looks like it might turn back down a little bit. So wait for it. Not ready at this point. Only if it closes above that 6856 level, then you can look for that buying opportunity. Okay. With that, just want to do a quick check again on the dollar index. Why has it been moving this way? Okay, so see, dollar index has just been doing what it's been doing the whole day. Just then, before we jump onto the call, when we jumped on the call, it looked like it was a nice big red candle down. Now it's turning back up a little bit. So be very careful with the dollar index or the strength of the dollar across the board at this point. I think that because it is at quite a significant level, we're going to see a lot of volatility, or rather a lot of fake breakouts at this point. So just be a bit more careful with don't enter multiple trades across different currency pairs, because once the dollar changes very quickly, you can see hour to hour, it goes from green to red very quickly within the hour. It can, or even now at this point, it can throw your trades off completely, right? Especially if you're trading the smaller time frame. So with that on the dollar index, one thing that was Suyun actually put up onto the chat was the yen pairs, right? So she was saying that yen was weakening across the board. So you can see here the US yen, it's been weakening for the day, right? So for today, it's been pushing towards the upside. There is still that resistance level of 115.75. I was actually looking at this. I was looking to enter whether I should scalp it towards that point, but not very attractive at that level, because I was looking at that. There was only a 20 pips when I was looking at it. So 20 pips at that point, not worth trying to scalp. I checked that one out. What I would stock the US yen for is on the H1 time frame. And this is giving you a heads up before the Thursday call about yen, is to look for it to break above this point, right? So we've gone through the Aussie dollar, both buying and selling opportunities that is given the dollar strength or the dollar weakness, the Kiwi dollar looking at that push higher given the dollar weakness. In this case, we're looking at that push higher if we see the dollar strength. What you could be looking here on the H1 time frame is this, right? So you're looking at take profit of about 40, 35, 40 pips. I think because it's going to break, if it does break that resistance level, you can keep your stop loss very tight, about 20 pips. You have your 1:2 risk reward ratio towards the upside here, towards that 116.18 level. Okay, and if I zoomed out, you can see that it's very significant. It will be very significant if it can break above that point. And this is why I didn't say just break that line, you can look to buy. It got rejected at this level here. So it went out again. If I go out further, you can see it needs to clear quite a bit. This one's a fake one here, but it needs to clear quite a bit. And if it does clear quite a bit, then we can see it move very quickly towards this 116.20 level. Okay, so quite a lot of empty space here. It'd be interesting if it does continue, which it's doing now, to move higher above this point. Look for it to, and I think this is quite nice because it's still got some space for it to move up, close above that resistance, close at that 115.85, and then you can have that buying opportunity, right? So you might be right. Yen weakening across the board. Euro JPY. Okay, so the Euro Yen, again, be a bit more cautious here because as we look at the Euro Yen, right? We spoke about the Euro Dollar again. Just do a quick recap on the Euro Dollar. Look, just then as we're talking, it was trying to move upwards. Now it's sitting back down again. Euro dollar is still about that downside. It's still trying to push lower. Even if it does test that resistance, we're looking for it to push lower because of euro weakness. So in terms of the Euro Yen, right, I wouldn't be too keen to buy it up. I wouldn't be too keen to buy it up towards that 126.75 level because where is it? Because it is only about a 40-50 pip move towards the upside. Same thing like I was talking about at the start of the session. That 50 pip to try and scalp it up, a bit too hard to do. And then if it does break above that point, any downward move in the euro dollar is going to pull it down quite quickly. And we don't think that the US yen is going to move up that much that can drag the euro yen up towards that 128 level. All right, so what I would be looking for instead for the euro yen on H1 time frame here will be actually let it go up, right? Look for it to go up, look for it to break, test above maybe even, and then come back down and look to sell it down, right? So again, 30 pips. I wouldn't go all the way here at 200 pip level. I would say 30 pips, 35 pip stop loss. Even at 100 is very ambitious already, but you could be looking for that kind of trade on the euro yen. Yes, I'm also waiting for US yen to break that level. Fantastic. All right. I like how we all see the same thing, so that reinforces everything there. So that's the euro yen. Look for it to move towards the upside, test, reject, and sell down. I think you can be a little bit safer there. Below 126.55, you can look to sell. Okay, even if a 40 pip stop loss, 100 pip, 80 to 100 pip take profit, a 1:2 risk reward ratio back into this consolidation area or this area of confluence here. So that would be an interesting trade. The next one is pound yen. Okay, so look at pound yen. It's doing the same thing as what pound dollar has been doing. It's set right across, no real directions. A bit, pay a bit more caution to this, right? Especially for the pound yen. Why I say that is the pound yen usually is very much more volatile. You can see big moves big moves down, big moves up, very quick moves. For it to actually sit in that consolidation, what actually means is that we might be seeing it consolidate, move right across, preparing for a big move. So in this case, even if I did the daily time frame here just to share with you, you can see that the pound yen sitting at this point is right in the middle. It's right in the middle, which opens itself up to either that big upside move or that big downside move. At this point, no real factor to push it either to the upside or the downside, especially given that we look at the pound dollar. You can see it's been tracking lower on the daily time frame here. Pound dollar has been looking at that big downward move. If it does clear below this 1.3132 level, then you can see quite a lot of downside here on the pound dollar, next towards 1.3 and then possibly even further. So be very careful on the pound dollar because it's in the Eurozone, well, not in the Eurozone, but near to Europe. So looking back to the pound yen, right, this is the reason why I think that on the daily, we're possibly going to see it sit in consolidation, not do too much, or try to move a little bit higher, a little bit down, but we might see it track lower, right? So I wouldn't look at this. I hesitate to share it with you on the H1 time frame because I don't think it will happen quickly. Possibly an H4 kind of trade, but only if it breaks below that 151. If it breaks below 151, then your take profit could be that 130, 140 pips towards the downside. Move this here. Stop loss will be about 80 pips. So normally I would not say that. I would say that for pound yen, keeping a stop loss tight is quite dangerous because for pound yen, volatility is very high. If you keep it too tight, it tends to get stopped out first before it moves down. So in this case, if you're trading a pound yen, you want to keep it tight, size down before you trade, or size down and then have that bigger stop loss, be able to take on a bigger stop loss for that downward move towards that 149.50 support level. If it does go up, I would forego that trade. Comparing the US yen, the pound yen, and the euro yen, for it to move up, then I'll be more focused again back to the USD JPY for that move, which is happening now, right? For that move and test and breakthrough towards the upside. For the downside, then we'll be looking at the euro yen or the pound yen for that downside. All right. Then USD CAD. For CAD, this has been, let me just squeeze it down a bit. Okay, so the CAD, I would be very tempted, or I have been very tempted to try and sell the CAD back down. All right, so if I zoomed out, you can see that we sold it down once and then it's bounced back up, it's broken, following the trend, maybe towards the upside. This might be a counter trend idea, given that we know the dollar is going to get stronger, or it's looking like it's getting stronger, but with the way oil has been performing, with the way the Canadian economy seems to be unaffected by most things at this point, I'm looking to see whether it's going to turn back down. The trend following trade will be for it to break. That's simple. Break above that 128.50, 1.2850 resistance level, trade it up towards the 1.29 resistance level, but maybe not on an H1 time frame. I'm sharing this with you because I think this might happen before Friday. Is if it rejects this level, same thing as what happened here 24th of Feb, tracks higher, doesn't break, doesn't close above, it turns back down, we're going to see that big downward move, right? So this might be an H4 counter trend trade. Remember, disclaimer still applies. H4 counter trend trade, I will be looking to see whether I can do a 30 pip, 40 pip stop loss, take profit all the way down at 100 pips, but be ready to close off at any earlier time. Selling opportunity below 1.2826, 1.2826. If it goes up, test and rejects the resistance level, you have that selling opportunity there on the US CAD H4 time frame. This might not be an H1. Why I say it's not likely to be an H1 is because on an H1, we're possibly going to see it turn up, test down, turn up, test down a little bit more. If I were to scroll back to the 20, so you can see that happened there. So that was the US CAD on the H1 time frame on the 24th of Feb. Tested, looks like it was a pin bar towards the downside. If you sold there, then you would have got stopped out. It came back down again. If you sold there, maybe within the hour, you might have been at risk. But on H4, it was very clear and simple. It didn't close above. The H4 candle didn't close above. And then you have that selling opportunity towards the downside. Right? So at this point, any questions? Any questions? I don't know why I did it so quickly compared to how Kim Hong usually does it. Oh yeah, good point. Euro pound. Okay, so Euro pound. Okay, I'll tell you a funny thing about Euro pound. So you can just put in the chat and just went like, hey, you forgot Euro pound. Why I forgot Euro pound is because of this, right? I thought it was going to turn down and it's just gone straight back up. And also because over the last couple of weeks when I've been trying to trade the Euro pound, pretty much every time I enter a trade on the Euro pound, I lose money. Right? On every other trade, fine, no problem. Get into the Euro pound, it's almost straight away it goes against me. So I've actually, on my own charts, I've moved the Euro pound off. It's sitting right in the corner there. I'm not even looking at it anymore. But the Euro pound, not a great one to be trading at this point because again, right, just again that recap. I know I'm changing charts a lot. Look at the euro dollar. You think that it's going to go up, test that resistance. So if the euro dollar does go up, it's going to pull the euro pound up, test that resistance. I'm hoping for it to drop back down after that. The pound dollar, right? No real directions, no real direction on the pound dollar here. Struggling to move towards the upside as well. So that's actually quite an interesting thing because you can see the euro dollar moving higher, the pound dollar actually sitting right across. As a point to note that usually, not always, but usually we see the euro dollar and the pound dollar move somewhat in correlation, if it's slightly delayed, but somewhat in correlation. So it's actually quite interesting here. I was actually trying to study that today, that we see the euro dollar trying to move higher, but pound dollar has been struggling to find a clear direction and actually trying to move a little bit lower as we speak. So with that, what it means is looking at the euro pound, right? That's why we see that move. Euro dollar pushing it up, pound dollar struggling to find an upward move, actually moving slightly down. As the pound dollar goes down, we pull the euro pound up as well. So at this point, it is way too late. Okay, it is too late to be trying to enter a trade to trade it up towards that 83.51 level. Not a lot of space left, because if you were to get in as an example, right, about a 25 pip take profit, stop loss, anything at 25 would be a 1:1. I think not the most attractive at this point. What you could be looking for on the euro pound, track higher, right? Because we know that euro dollar might go a little bit higher, pound dollar struggling. If it tracks higher, and then we see the euro dollar turn back down, could we have a selling opportunity here on the euro pound as it tests and possibly reject that resistance level of 8350? The same thing as what happened on the 2nd of March. Tested, rejected, turned down, look for that selling opportunity. I think the only thing I'll be looking for, I wouldn't be looking to buy it up. I'll look for it to move higher, test, reject, and sell it back down on the euro pound. Okay. Looks like it's going back to the range. Yeah, it's going back to this 83 and 83.50 range, which is very annoying because for euro pound is a very, at 50 pips is a very tight range. And you can see that the last time it went in this range, it actually is not just this area, it actually even breaks up towards that 84. So even at 100 pips, you can see a lot of spike ups and spike down and a lot of tails. So I actually came to the point where I don't enjoy trading. You can see at this, like an example here, right? At levels here, a lot of tail, a lot of shadows. Same thing here, and actually across, quite easy to find a lot of examples on tails and shadows. So I come to the point where I don't really feel like I enjoy trading the euro pound that much. Might be able to look at euro pound more on the H4 time frame, right? So to avoid all the tails and shadows getting faked out and all that kind of stuff, look at it on a bigger time frame. I would say in this case, still the same story. Look for it to move upwards. This is actually quite important, is that the euro pound, why is reacting so strongly at this point, is because we shared before. I think it'd be easier to see on the weekly time frame. Right, the last time it broke below this level was back in Feb 2020, right? Or tried to break below or resisted this level was back in Feb 2020. So it's in a space that it hasn't been for a long time, or a year ago, right? And it hasn't been there. The last time, again, 2016, 2017. Before that, it broke towards the upside. So a lot of clear space, and that's probably why we see a lot of big reactions here on the euro pound. This is on a weekly time frame. So when you look at it on the, you're looking at multi-year lows here at this point. So, on the H1 and H4 time frame, you're going to see that big volatility. Look for it to push upwards. I think that it might be quite possible, but I don't think you'll move all the way just based on the euro dollar climbing, because it's struggling a bit here. I think that the euro pound might move towards the upside more because we might see the pound dollar track lower with some dollar strength tracking lower. So as it tracks lower, we'll see the euro pound push higher, right? So just do a quick check on that again, right? So the dollar index again now back up above, slightly above that 99 level. I would say possibly don't look to enter any trades at the market open at 9 o'clock. I would say, give it some time. We might see a bit more volatility at the market open at 9. Let it settle down a little bit before you want to jump into any of the trades. Any other questions? Wait, okay. Just to share with you as well. So this was what I was looking at on the pound dollar on the 15-minute time frame. right? So the pound dollar 15-minute, it's really been shooting up and all around. At this point, again, it looks like, right, it looks like it's going to track lower, possibly looks like it's going to track quite significantly lower, but with the way the dollar index has been moving, if you're looking to sell this on a 15-minute time frame, for example, you only look to sell below this point all the way to here. It's only about 16 pips, 16, 17 at the most, 20 pips, right? So just be very careful. It's still, as much as it looks very enticing, it's still in a relatively tight range. I'll be a bit more careful on a pound dollar. If I didn't suddenly realize what I was doing the whole day this afternoon, I might have even looked to jump into a trade there. But at this point, looking at it on the H1 time frame, needs to go quite significant, needs to break. I will wait for it to break 1.3090. You might see very, very big downside on the pound dollar. So a lot more patience required. Actually, not a lot. It's 1.31 already, 1.39, 1.309, 309. Not a big distance away, but let it come down, let it close below. We could see quite significant downside. My trades over the last couple of days and weeks, actually, mostly on the, actually I would say most of my trades are on the dollar, on the euro dollar and the pound dollar, selling it down towards the downside. Everything else I did some Aussie, some Kiwi trades, but I would say about 80% of my trades were on the pound dollar and the euro dollar, just selling down. If it bounces back up, wait for it, sell down. If it bounces back up, wait for it. Or if it breaks a lower level, sell it down again. So just keeping it quite simple, just looking to sell down, but it needs to break key levels. Need to be a bit more patient, break key levels before selling it towards the downside. Any other questions? How's your trading been, soon?
Slowly getting back this month, but pretty bad. I got trapped in the pound dollar as well, where I tried to sell it. Yeah, then it went back up. But I caught UJ yesterday or something like that. I went to buy at 115.09.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but I couldn't wait until it hit my TP, my resistance level, and I closed it off.
What was the TP level at? Like how many pips?
Like 60, I think.
Yep.
Close to my zone, yeah.
What's very annoying now with the market is that a lot of times, like even for myself, when I get into a trade, I enter a trade and it just sits there. It sits there, it doesn't do anything, and then the next moment it just drops, right? Especially when I'm looking for it to break levels. Once it breaks the level, it just sits there and you go like, wait, what's happening? Then it bounces back up a little bit, it tries to break lower, and then it just goes straight down. So a lot of patience required, but every time you have a trade open, you just never know what's going to happen to the conflict. There's a ceasefire, then there's a breach of a ceasefire, then there's this, there's that. It just throws everything out of whack. So just be careful of that, right? With that as well, what was one more is I don't know whether this will end up becoming an issue, but where was it? Oh, I saw it. So look at that. South Korea fires warning shot at North Korean patrol vessel. Don't bring it over to this side. So what we've seen is, that, but in addition to that was that they're looking at more, what was that news? Oh, right, they're looking at considering bond sales to fund energy defense. That might come into how the ECB talks about it on Thursday evening. So we'll pay attention to that as well. Give you a bit of update on that. And then also that one. But I haven't read into that one yet. So, we might see some dollar volatility continue at that point. All right. Any other questions? Anyone else trading or any trades that you want to review or consider? If not, short and sharp session. Let's hope we get more people onto the call next on Thursday, because we're looking at the ECB news release, and we're possibly looking to trade or plan some trades before that, so that we can set orders and jump into trades there. All right, so if you've got no other questions, thank you all so much. We'll catch you tomorrow for pound dollar. Take care now. Bye-bye.